Welcome to Chuckwagon MTG, and thank you for joining us for another deck tech. Today we're bringing you the Fast and the Azorious, a blue-black standard deck created by Alex Blodgett. The Fast and the Azorious deck lives up to both parts of its name. It can break out of the gate fast with its low casting cost creatures that can crew your vehicles and swing in early game, and it can also go full Azorious Senate with its counters and removal. First, let's take a look at the artifacts. We're running one Aether Sphere Harvester, which comes into the battlefield with 2 energy counters, which we'll be using to give it lifelink, as it's the only card in the deck using any form of energy. We're also running 4 Heart of Kiran, which double as flying beat sticks and blockers because of their vigilance. Next, we have 3 copies of Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Gideon is going to be doing Gideon things, which is either sacrificing himself for the greater good to give us that emblem that gives all of our creatures +1/+1, but occasionally he may stick around to make 2/2 white knights, or just to go ahead and attack himself. For creatures, we have a variety. We have 4 copies of Archangel Avacyn, who's going to protect our board and then stick around as a nice wall/beater. We also have 4 copies of Scrapheap Scrounger, which can provide a bit of pressure, crew our vehicles, and contribute to improvise on our Metallic Rebukes, and give +2/+1 during combat to our Toolcraft Exemplar, which we're also running 4 of. We'll be using him for a little bit of pressure on the first couple of turns, then most likely he'll be crewing one of our vehicles. Next, we have 4 copies of Spellqueller, the 2/3 flying spirit with flash that when it enters the battlefield, exile target spell with converted mana cost of 4 or less. Now, in the current meta, Spellqueller is just what the doctor ordered when that turn 4 Aetherworks Marvel drops, or any pesky threat for that matter, but mainly it really takes care of Marvel quite well. We then have 4 copies of Thraben Inspector. She's going to grab us a clue for our card draw, improvise on our Metallic Rebuke, and pump up our Toolcraft Exemplar for combat. Plus she can crew our Harvester, so she's kind of good all the way around. For instance, we have 3 copies of Blessed Alliance, which will most likely be cast to make an opponent sacrifice an attacking creature, and later on in the game, you can gain 4 life and untap a few creatures for a surprise block. We also have 2 copies of Metallic Rebuke for a little extra control. We have 3 copies of Declaration in Stone to get rid of the major threats that do happen to make it onto the battlefield. As for our lands, they're pretty straightforward. We do have 3 copies of Irrigate Farmland that we can use to cycle mid and late game, and we have 4 copies of Spire of Industry, so we can create the black mana needed to bring our Scrapheap Scrounger back from the graveyard. Our sideboard consists of 2 copies of Gisela the Broken Blade for games that you happen to take a beating early on when the lifelink would kind of come in handy. And we're also running 1 copy of Bruna the Fading Light to bring in with Gisela for those games that happen to run long. We have 2 copies of Selfless Spirit that works well with Avacyn and can help protect your board. And we have 2 copies of Sphinx of the Final Word. I absolutely love that card. For going up against control decks. It's not one they really see coming, and when Sphinx hits the battlefield, it's kind of game over. For non-creature spells, we have 3 copies of Cast Out for even more threat control, along with an extra copy of Declaration in Stone for the exact same reason. We also have 2 copies of Dispel and 2 copies of Negate to use as you see fit, kind of the, control deck, instant add sideboard cards there. All in all, this looks like a fun deck to play, and also one that might do well in a meta that's being filled with Marvels and vehicles right now. So yeah, fun. I'd like to give a quick shout out and thank you to Alex Blodgett, the one who came up with this deck for the deck tech we're doing here today. Alex is actually going to be joining the Chuckwagon MTG team as a contributor. I also want to give a quick thank you out to Brandon Devane. I believe I've mentioned him here before, but if I haven't, thank you, Brandon, very much. Without Brandon, you would not see the, albeit slow, growth that we have had here on the channel. He's been such an important part. I want to give a quick thank you out to him. If you happen to play this deck at your local F&M or even at your kitchen table, in the comments below, let us know how you did. Let us know what you would change, your thoughts, your concerns, your worries. I want to know them. I want to thank you for watching, and as always, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, Chuckwagon MTG.